Okay, today we're going to look at some examples of hyperbola. All right, so here's my standard form of a hyperbola. I have for the transverse axis, it's horizontal when my x value is first. Okay, so when I have the x value first, it's going to be horizontal. And it's vertical when my y value is first. Notice the difference between a hyperbola and an ellipses. First, I have a minus sign instead. Also, the hyperbola has asymptotes, and the equation of the asymptotes are shown here. The equation of the foci are shown here, and the equation of the vertices are shown here. Also, similar to the ellipse, the co-vertices are the vice versa of each other. Also, notice that the center, and I don't have the equation for the center, but hopefully you know the center is always going to be HK, is going to, the x's values will be together and the y values will be together. So notice here the k is still with the y and the h is still with the x. Okay? And just in case you didn't know, this is what a image or a picture or a graph of a hyperbola looks like. Notice the foci are on the outside. The vertex is the actual curvature. The center is not actually on the actual curvature. These are the asymptotes. This is where my curves get closer and closer to it, but it doesn't touch it. And notice that my co-vertices, where they're located, they make this box shape for us. So let's do it. Can't forget that I also have it here vertical and horizontal. And I also have it where the center is not 0, 0. So notice the center is not 0, 0. All right, so let's do some examples. We're going to identify the vertices, the foci, and the asymptote of each in this sketch graph. I'm also going to do the center and the co-vertices. All right, so here's our first one. All right, so looking at this, we can see that it is horizontal because my x is first. All right. So we can write down what we have. We have a squared is equal to 9 and b squared is equal to 25. And notice that the difference between this and the ellipses, the a squared was always a larger value. This time the a squared is always under the value that is under the variable that comes first. The center is really easy to see, so I'm going to go ahead and put that down. There's nothing I'm adding to the x value and nothing I'm adding to the y, so the center is 0, 0. I can find, and this is c for center, not c. So c squared, this time different from the ellipse, is a squared plus b squared. So that is 9 plus 25. So c squared is equal to 34, which makes c equal to root 34. All right, so now the vertices. I'm going to denote that with just the v. So the vertices I'm adding to the x because it's horizontal. So my a is 9, so that's going to be 0 plus or minus 3, comma 0. Or if I go ahead and evaluate this out, that's 3, 0, and negative 3, 0. Co-vertices, I'm just going to add CV for co-vertices. 0, I'm going to add the b this time, so 0 plus or minus 5. And that's going to give me 0, comma 5, and 0, comma negative 5. The foci, we got square root, sorry, this is actually plus or minus square root 34, so that's going to give me 0 plus or minus square root of 34. comma 0. And so that's going to give me negative square root 34, comma 0, and positive square root 34, comma 0. Because remember, they're on opposite ends, so that's why we need two of them. All right, last but not least, we need to find the asymptotes. So those lines. So we see them because we're graphing them, but they're actually dotted because they're supposed to be invisible, right? So the formula for the asymptote is y minus k equals b over a, plus or minus, I'm sorry, plus or minus b over a because there's two of them, times x minus h. So let's plug in what we have. So that's y minus 0 equals plus or minus 5 over 3 times x minus 0. So that's just y is equal to plus or minus 5/3 x. Alright, so let's get to graphing. First thing we'll graph is the center. So we have the center here at 0, 0. Lucky us. The asymptotes, I'm going to graph this. I'm going to go up 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, over 3, 1, 2, 3. And so, looks like, oh, this is horrible. I apologize. And the same thing going in this way. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 1, 2, 3. So those are my asymptotes. Vertices are at 3, 0. So we have 3, 0, and negative 3, 0. So it looks something like this. So notice I'm getting closer. Oops. One's supposed to touch that dotted line. Hopefully you get the point. Foci are at plus square root 34 and minus square root 34. Square root 34 is around 4.8, so it's around 6. So a little dot right here and a dot right there. Okay. Let's do another one. So this time we have vertical, right? Why do we know it's vertical? Because my y value is first. Okay. So we have a squared equals 16, b squared equals 1. So c squared equals 16 plus 1. So c squared is equal to 17. So c is equal to plus or minus the square root of 17. My center, so remember x comes first, so it's going to be negative 4. And then my y is at 0, so c for center. What else do I need to find? I need to find the vertices. So the vertices, I'm adding to my y this time because it is vertical. So that's going to be negative 4, and then 0, plus or minus 4, correct? Because square root of 16 is 4. So the vertices are negative 4 and 4, or negative 4 and negative 4. Alright, co-vertices. So co-vertices are going to be negative 4 plus or minus 1. And then I still have 0. So that gives me negative 5, 0, and oops, negative 3, 0. Is my math right? Negative 3 plus 1, negative 4 minus 1 is negative 5. Negative 4 plus 1 is negative 3. Yes. And the last one, foci. Oh, no, it's not the last one. I got to find the asymptotes. Can't forget those. So that's going to give me, what am I adding to? Is vertical, so to the y, so that's -4. And then I'm not even going to put the 0 plus, but so it's plus or minus square root of 17. All right. So now the asymptote equation is going to be y minus k equals plus or minus a over b times x minus h. So let's plug in what we have. So that's y. What is my k value? My k value is 0 equals a, so that's 4 over 1 plus or minus times x plus, because it's minus. So a minus times a minus is going to give me plus 4. Alright, so we have y is equal to, and I have to do negative and positive, so it's going to be positive 4x plus 16, and then y equals negative 4x minus 16. So this one is going to be hard to graph, and I'll tell you why. My y-intercepts are at 16 and negative 16, and as you can see, the highest values that I have are 8 and negative 8. So I'm not going to try to graph it. I'll put it here for you instead. So my center, just like we said before, is at negative 4, 0. These are my asymptotes. They should be dotted, but they're not. That's perfectly okay. My vertex is at negative 4, 4. Let's see if I have that. So my vertex is at negative 4, 4, and negative 4, negative 4. So negative 4, 4, and negative 4, negative 4. And there we have it. Alright, so let's do one where we have to complete the square now. Alright, so again, we're going to put our x values together. So we have negative 9x squared, and I just have that. So then I'll put my y values together. So I'm going to put the negative 16x squared first. Sorry, y squared first. Minus 32y. And actually I brought it over to the other side, so it's plus, excuse my mistake, is equal to 128. Okay, so I can't do anything. Can't complete the square with this, but I can complete the square with this y. So I'm going to pull out a 16. That's y minus 2y. Divide by 2. I get 1. 1 squared is 1 equals 128. And I have to make sure I add that 16 that I added. So 16 times 1 is 16. So I'm going to add plus 16. And so I get negative 9x squared plus 16y. The sign is minus 1. Sorry, this is squared. Squared equals 144. Okay, I have to have everything equal to 1. So I'm going to divide both sides by 144. When I do that, I get negative x squared over 16 plus y minus 1 squared over 9 equals 1. I don't want that negative out front, so I'm going to switch it around. Just moving it around. And that lets me know that this is vertical, right? Because my y is first, because I have to have that minus sign there in the middle. So my a squared equals 9. My b squared equals 16. My c squared is equal to 9 plus 16, which is 25. So my c is equal to plus or minus 5. My center, I'm going to say c for center, is at 0, comma 1. They tried to trick me, right? But my x comes first. My y comes second. My vertices, I'm adding to my, it's vertical, so to my y. So that's going to be 0, 1 plus or minus 3. I hate to doing my graphs.